Today in Star Trek Explored, I present to you the Klingon Empire, some of their history and their origins. If you like this video, then liking and subscribing will help grow the channel and encourage me to make more videos on the Klingons and their culture. The Klingon Empire, or as it's called internally, the Empire, is the official state of the Klingon people and is mainly based in the Beta Quadrant of the galaxy, with borders connecting to the Federation and the Romulan Star Empire, to name a few. The first Klingon Empire was founded in the 9th century by Kahless the Unforgettable. He was the first Klingon to unite the Klingon homeworld of Kronos. Since then, the Klingon Empire has expanded its sphere of influence by conquering numerous star systems and incorporating them into the Empire. This has made the Empire a major power in its region of the galaxy as of the 22nd, 23rd and 24th centuries, and perhaps beyond. The Klingon Empire is officially a feudal monarchy, which was led by the Emperor, who was traditionally a direct descendant of Kahless himself. However, the de facto power lay with the Klingon High Council, who controlled the everyday ruling of the Empire and its military forces. The council was made up from representatives of the 24 great houses of the Empire. They in turn were led by an elected Chancellor of the High Council, a very powerful figure indeed. The position of Emperor was abandoned when Emperor Koth died in the mid-21st century. Following this, there was a brief civil war that cemented the High Council's rule over the Empire. But the position of Emperor was, shall we say, revived in 2369. When a group of clerics on the holy world of Borath created a clone of Kahless, using a sample of his blood that had been preserved. Kahless, son of Kahless, the clone, was accepted as the new emperor, albeit only as a religious figurehead, and the position no longer had any real power. The Chancellor, the de facto leader of the Empire, was head of the High Council, which consisted of 24 members, representing the various great houses. These great houses had the largest fleets, most colonies and worlds under their sway. They could be considered the Klingon nobility. The Chancellor was protected at all times by the Yan Isleth, a group of elite warriors trained by the best weapon and war masters of the Empire. They were also called the Brotherhood of the Sword. Women were not normally permitted to hold seats on the High Council. Despite that, Gowron, going against tradition, once offered Ambassador Kalia a seat on the council in exchange for her support of his bid to the chancellorship after the death of Chancellor Kempek in 2367. There was also Azat Bor, the daughter of Chancellor Gorkon. She was permitted to succeed him as Chancellor in 2293. It is possible that this unusual appointment was permitted because she was made the head of her house due to her father's death and the possible lack of a male heir. It's possible that Gorkon suspected that something might happen to him on the voyage, and had arranged with his allies in the High Council for them to back Azat Bor as Chancellor if he were to be killed. Azat Bor ruled the Empire for nearly 20 years, and was able to maintain the Empire's treaty with the Federation, and taking a neutral stance when it came to the brewing conflict between the Federation and the Romulans. She was later assassinated by a Klingon named Ditach, who, Azat Bor had thought an ally. Ditach hoped that after her death, the more powerful General Karg would rise to power. Karg did indeed assume the chancellorship himself, and one of his first acts was to ban women from ever being chancellor again, or even sitting on the High Council, a ban that was still in place in 2367. With so many factions constantly vying for leadership of the Empire, the Klingons developed a strict and rigorous right of succession to determine their leader. According to long-standing tradition, one was permitted to challenge the Chancellor of the High Council on grounds of cowardice or dishonourable conduct, and that would result in a duel between both parties to the death. Should the challenger slay the Chancellor, he would assume the role of the Chancellor, and would become the leader of the Klingon High Council. The best example of this was when Worf challenged Gowron, the Chancellor of the High Council, at the time of the Dominion, to single combat for dishonourable conduct, and Gowron's willingness to sacrifice other Klingons in order to retain his political power. After Worf won the battle by slaying Gowron, he was presented the position of Chancellor, but he refused. Instead, he gave it to General Martok, now Chancellor Martok, perhaps, in my personal opinion, one of the greatest Klingon chancellors in history. Because of the Klingon propensity for violence, shrewd Klingon chancellors redirected hostilities outwards, where they would otherwise cause a civil war. This allowed the younger Klingons, hungry for war and glory, the opportunity to both prove themselves and expand the Empire's borders. Two birds with one stone. Some Klingon chancellors, on the other hand, would dispatch warriors and ships on missions like, as an example, in the 2150s, the Chancellor, unnamed at the time, sent Duras, you might remember that name, after Captain Jonathan Archer. This was a way of levelling the blame for certain internal problems at the time on an external source. It's in a similar way that Gowron focused the warriors of the Klingon Empire whilst he was in charge, on first invading the Cardassian Union, and later attempting to invade the Federation. This was in order to avoid internal conflicts at home. Aside from the challenges to the primary leadership of the Empire, there was also frequent feuding between the various great houses. Most often, the challenge was made on the floor of the High Council chambers and resolved on the battlefields. However, on occasion, some dishonourable houses, looking at you, Duras, and their leaders, chose to make more insidious attacks by undermining the standing of their enemy. Perhaps the best example of this is the House of Duras. They had a well-deserved reputation for being underhanded in their tactics and treacherous, sometimes even dealing with the Romulans themselves to gain power. Dugor of the House Dugor underhandedly attacked the House of Kozak by attacking the House of Kozak's finances, a very dishonourable act in itself. This was later discovered when Quark took over the House of Kozak by marrying Grilka. Dugor was stripped of his rank and discommendated, and stripped of all of his honour, for attempting to kill Quark when he refused to fight after this information was revealed to the High Council. Grilka, after the events, was granted the leadership of her house, and the house was renamed from the House of Kozak to the House of Grilka. The Klingon Empire was a key player in many conflicts, often aligning with the United Federation of Planets. This was especially true during the Dominion War. The Dominion War will be covered in full in a later video, but to give a brief summary, the Cold War between the Dominion and the Alpha Quadrant powers became open warfare when the Federation attempted to mine the mouth of the Bajoran wormhole in order to stop Dominion reinforcements from travelling to Cardassian space and reinforcing Cardassian territories. Initially, during the highlight of this conflict, the Klingons kept a far lower profile in battle than was usual, but soon took an active role in the war. This cost them greatly in ships and troops, to the point that it was estimated that the Empire wouldn't fully recover for at least 10 years after the end of the war. The calculations of this were made by Section 31 and Starfleet Intelligence. Not to put too fine a point on this, but there is so much more to cover when it comes to the Klingons and their culture and the Empire itself, but I will have to leave that to another video. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, then please leave a like, and if you want more Star Trek lore explored, please subscribe to this channel. Thank you again, and I shall see you on the next Star Trek Explored. Live long and